Take a close look at that. I grew up in Kansas. There's 105 counties in Kansas. The last I read, 88 of those counties have lost population every year since World War II. There are counties there that I would want to definitely invest in, and there are counties that I would not. I mean, they have declining population, declining employment. Real estate is very local, so you want to do your homework. Can I buy a property with 20 to 25% down and break even? That just, Don the carpet layer's rule of thumb over the years has really held true. If you reach a point where the prices are so high or the rents have dropped where you can't make those numbers work, my advice would be that maybe you shouldn't buy that property, or you should be careful about buying that property. We have had what we call Wake Up Money Club in our company for years. Once a month, the investors would come. We would work with our investors on everything from property management to how to buy property. In 2005, I said, we're disbanding the Wake Up Money Club. The fundamentals don't make any sense anymore. The economics aren't there. You can't buy property with 20 to 25% down, have it make any sense. We're not telling you to sell your properties. We're just saying don't be buying property right now. Go to the sidelines. I have so many cards and emails from investors who say, Larry, thank you. Because you know what? That was when the craziness was going on. In 2005, 2006. And our investors went to the sidelines because they could not make this work. Of course, in 2010, what did we do? We started back up Wake Up Money Club, because now it makes some sense. Now, in our market with 10% down, you can break even or cash flow. All the fundamentals are back now. So we'll talk about timing in a little bit later, but you want to take a look at your market. And this is a very important Don the carpet layer rule of thumb. And then what is the risk index for that market? What we want is a low to moderate risk index. And I'll show you how the risk index is calculated. You basically go to this website, which is the PMI website. PMI stands for Private Mortgage Insurance. These are the guys who insure mortgages above 80% loan to value. These are the people that are risking billions of dollars every month on the direction of home prices. And so they have an economic model that will predict home prices in a particular community. So you go to this website. Here's what you want to look for. You want to click on ERET, Economic and Real Estate Trends. And in there you will discover that you can look up 381 housing markets. You can look up your market if you are in a reasonable sized community. You'll look up the house price risk index. What this risk index calculates is what are the odds that home prices will be less 2 years from now. And these are the guys that are betting the big bucks on the direction of home prices because they're insuring the mortgages in those markets. The second thing you want to look at is what is the market affordability index. They have a model that uses 1995 as a base year. Why they picked 1995, I have no idea, but that's the year that they picked. Base year 1995 equals 100. What that means is if you have an index above 100, your market is more affordable than it was in 1995. If your index is less than 100, it's less affordable. Ideally, what you want is a community that's affordable. If you have an affordability index less than 100, I would be careful about investing in that particular market. When we look at affordability, let's look at how that index is put together. A lot of times when we think of affordable housing, the first thing we think about is what? The price, right? The price of the house. The media will talk about the price. If the prices are high, then it's not as affordable. If the prices are low, it's more affordable. They tend to only focus on one component, which is price. But the fact is, price is a very important component, but there's two other components. Another one is, what's the income in that particular community? Do they have the ability to buy houses in that community? And then another factor is what? Interest rates. So here's how that market affordability index is put together. What was the average house price in that community in 1995? What was the average household income in that community in 1995? What was the interest rates at that time in 1995? And so what could the median family income and median home price at that interest rate, how did those numbers look? And that's benchmarked at 100. Okay? So anything above 100 is what? More affordable. Anything less than 100 is less affordable than it was in 1995. So let's take a look at some markets. You know, we're in the Fort Collins, Loveland, Colorado market. So in our market, we have a risk index of 25.8%. What does that mean? It means the odds of home prices being less in 2 years is about 25%. And what are the odds of home prices remaining constant or rising over the next 2 years? About 75%. Okay, so they're betting there's a 1 in 4 chance prices will be less in 2 years. There's a 3 in 4 chance prices will be higher in the next 2 years. You always want to analyze, have you ever heard this? Always look at the downside risk versus the upside potential. And that's all we're doing here. So we're looking at the downside risk is 25.8%. Let's look at the upside potential. How high could prices go in this market? Well, our upside is determined by the affordability index. We have an affordability index of 156.5%. Put that another way, homes are 56.5% more affordable now, given the incomes of the household income here, given the interest rates right now, than they were in 1995. Or to put it another way, if income stays the same, if interest rates stay the same, home prices could go up 56% and still be as affordable as they were in 1995. So there's upside potential in this particular market. Are you guys with me? Let's take a look at Seattle, Bellevue, Everett, Washington market. Downside risk index 32.3%, which says what? Odds that home prices will be less than 2 years, about 1 out of 3. Or flip that around, odds that home prices will remain the same or be higher 2 years from now, about 2 out of 3. And let's take a look at their affordability, 137.8%. So there's some upside in this market. Home prices could rise about 37.8%, still be as affordable as they were in 1995. Let's take a look at one of the tougher markets in the country. Let's take a look at the Las Vegas, Nevada market. My son lives in Las Vegas. He called me and he says, "Dad, I'm thinking about buying an investment property. What do you think?" I said, "Well, let me go to the website and see what the risk index is." Matt, how long do you plan on holding on to that property? Do you plan to stay in Las Vegas as your home? Because if you plan to sell that property in the next 2 years, is he going to take a loss or is he going to make money? He's going to probably take a loss. So I said, in the short run, Matt, it doesn't look very good. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're going to hold this property for at least 2 years or more. By the way, that index a year ago was 99.9%. So it's improving. Okay, but here's the opportunity. Home prices in that market could double and still be as affordable as they were in 1995. Okay, so there's some upside there if you can hang on. If you're a long-term, if you're an investor, not a speculator. Case Shiller, Dr. Shiller is a professor at Yale, and he produces each month the Case Shiller Index that tracks home prices all over the country, and people really follow these. The media follows these indexes. And Case Shiller were asked, well, when do you think the home prices will return to their peak? And so they published this now kind of famous map. And here's what it looks like. Excuse me, the areas in blue, they're predicting home prices will return to their peaks by 2013. The green, 2013 to 2014, kind of the yellow, 2015 to 2025, and of course the red areas, 2025 or later. And you can see the areas that have really been hurt, such as Florida, Arizona, Nevada, and parts of California. I'm often asked, well, what are the gray areas? You know, there's all this area here that's gray. What is that? Well, those are areas that are not large enough population areas to be tracked. Okay, those are small towns. So the major metropolitan statistical areas are the ones that are tracked on this map. So going back to our Las Vegas example, when do prices look like they would get back to their peak? 2025 or later. I should mention that Case and Schiller, this map has had a certain amount of controversy about it. They're now kind of hedging their bets a little bit on, not on the order of which markets will recover first. They still are sticking with that, but they're thinking perhaps that the timing might be a little bit off by a year or two on this map. So, but still kind of will happen in this particular sequence. Let's finish up with why now. Well, what about timing? You know, there's an old saying in real estate. 3 rules of real estate. Location, location, location. In Wake Up Money, we say there's another 3 rules of real estate. Timing, timing, timing. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're analyzing, are we at the right time in the market cycle to be doing this? One of the things I teach at Colorado State University is equilibrium theory. This is the theory that markets seek balance. They're just, you know, like nature. Nature seeks balance. Markets seek a balance of supply and demand. And so if we understand that, we can take a look at a chart like this, where we have time on the bottom axis, we have prices, and over time, prices have gone up, but they've been cyclical. There are these market cycles. We could take a look at any market and identify what the equilibrium point is. That would be this line. What is the average point? You know, markets seek balance. What this means is when a market gets above the equilibrium line, there's going to be pressure for it to what? Come back to equilibrium. When it goes below that, there's going to be a pressure for it to what? Come back up. Any idea what the slope of this line is for the United States? Over time, over a 30, 40, 50-year period, it's 5%. The equilibrium appreciation over time in this country is 5%. So whenever you see a market get above 5% appreciation, that would be a signal to start to watch out. Whenever you see or depreciation or prices start to fall below 5%, that would be a signal to start to watch that market because it may be starting to come back, okay? And of course, what happens when markets get crazy, totally out of control, as we saw in the mid-2000s? You know, Warren Buffett has made a lot of money with this chart. He has an old saying, you know, sell high, buy low. Or he has another thing that he says, you know, when markets get totally out of control, when you reach a point like that, he says, when the markets get greedy, we get fearful. And then when the markets correct, and of course now it's headed down and the media horribilizes the data, and you know, everybody starts to go into fear. He says, when the markets get fearful, we get greedy. And I think that's pretty good advice from a pretty smart investor. So let's take a look at appreciation rates in the recent history of the United States. You know, in 1980 to 1985, the average home price in the United States went up 25%. How much is that per year?
5%.
About 5%, okay? In 1985 to 1990, went up, in that 5-year period, 27%. What's the average?
5%.
Again, about 5%. 1990 to 1995, went up about, again, 25%. That's about how much per year? 5%. What did we say about the slope of that line? The equilibrium point for the United States is what? 5%. 1995 to 2000 went up a little bit more, but still kind of in that 5% range. And then here's what happened in the 6 years from 2000 to 2006. This was the craziness, fueled a lot by subprime mortgages. You know, it used to be that people went looking for money. During this period, the money went looking for people. And boy, did the money get thrown at homeowners and investors, you know, take the money, and that drove prices what? And what's happening now? The market is simply correcting to equilibrium. That's all that's happening. If you look at some of the financial publications, one of my favorite is Fortune magazine. The reason I like Fortune is because it's a financial publication. The guys who write for that, the economists who work there, they look at fundamentals. And they've looked at the fundamentals in real estate, and their April of 2011 front page story was the return of real estate. Finally, after years of plummeting home prices, the market is showing signs of a turnaround. You know, these guys have done their homework. And what gives great credibility, I think, to this article, it was when you read the article, you know what their front page story in September of 2004 was? Watch out for the real estate bubble. The fundamentals don't make any sense. This is going on. And they said it's a time to watch out. It's a time to go to the sidelines. That was September of 2004. We told our investors in January of 2005 the very same thing. We say the fundamentals don't make any sense. Now's not the time. Go to the sidelines. Wait it out. What are they saying now? Timing now is right. One of the other articles in a financial publication came out in Barron's magazine, and the title was Renter's Nation. And they said, you know what, we're probably entering an era of renters, an increase in the number of renter households. And really the next 10 to 20 years, there's going to be a whole generation that's going to be more renting than they are owning. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the reasons is that Generation Y is just now starting to leave the nest, leave the colleges, and get involved in being on their own. Generation Y is larger than the baby boom generation. There's more of them. And they're just now starting to leave the nest, leave home, go off to college, graduate, be out in the workplace. And typically a young person, when they start out, they don't start out being a homeowner. They start out by renting. Secondly, we have the economic downturn. We have people that have lost their houses, lost their credit. They're not going to be buying a house anytime soon. And yet they need to have a place to live. Real estate's one of the three basics, and so they're going to be renting. Even if they wanted to buy a house, the lenders now have reacted to the easy money of the subprime. Now it's harder money. It's tougher to get a mortgage. And so it's going to be tougher for some people to buy. And then, of course, because of these factors, the home ownership rate is dropping. We reached a peak of about 69% of all the households